Hello, heathens. I'm Wyld Violet,
And I'm Transvangelical.
and this is Not Safe for Worship. Here, we talk about the ethics of sex work and sexuality in general through the lens of post-religious trauma. These are deeply personal topics for us, and we strive to delve in with humor and respect, but we do discuss very sensitive and potentially triggering subjects on a regular basis. Please practice self-care and compassion. Take breaks or even stop listening if you need to. We care deeply about you and your well-being. Welcome back to another week of deconstructing all the terrible things the Christians taught us about sex. This week, we have a very special guest on the pod. I will let her introduce herself, give you her name and what she does.
Hey all, I am Ember Skies, and I go by Goddess Ember Skies in some places, but you can come across me on Twitter at the Ember Skies, and I do a variety of things like phone sex and live streaming and taking men's money because it's better off with me.
It's so much better off with you. Also, you do book readings, and which needs to be highlighted because you have one of the smoothest voices.
Well, thank you.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I fully endorse and support all of these messages. We are so excited to get into this interview. As you heard, Ember, like me and Alicia, also does sex work. She also has a background in the church. She grew up around a lot of the same weirdness that we did. And so we're actually going to start out today. You know, we really like to address the wonky shit. And so we've asked Ember to come up with the weirdest thing, or at least one of the weirdest things, there's probably plenty to choose from, that she heard about sex or sexuality or her body while she was growing up in the church. So what have you got for us?
All right. So this one came to me, and I feel it came when I was college age, but right on that 18 cusp. And that was the Pringles method of sex, or how Pringles relates to sexuality. In
I
that,
don't know this one at all.
It's new.
Right? Just bring in the new facts. So sex is like Pringles, in that once you pop, you can't stop. So those Pringles, keep it fresh.
Oh my goodness.
For the one you love.
No. Oh my goodness.
Do not penetrate the lid. This is the message.
Exactly.
Oh,
Does it just imply that once you start having sex, you're just gonna have sex with whoever? Or something like that? Like
you just can't control yourself, because once you know how good it is, you can't stop. So you should definitely not start.
Which is a
And
great way to tell kids not to do it. It's going to be so good that you won't be able to stop, so just don't even try it.
and be suspicious of Pringles too, like just in case. Watch out.
Yeah, of course.
Oh
my
God. This is so good. I do remember hearing a lot of these phrases like spooning leads to forking and holding hands leads to babies and all that stuff growing up. Like literally, apparently, we if we started holding hands, like we would not be able to stop ourselves.
Slippery slope, baby.
That's perfect. I love it so much. So, as Ember said, she's on Twitter as Ember Skies, and a little tiny bit of background. That's where I met her. But Alicia actually knew Ember first. Did you all also meet on the Twitters?
Yeah, it was through Twitter.
Yes.
I think. Yeah, so I met Amber also through the Twitters. Whenever I started Transvangelical, I wasn't planning necessarily on doing sex work, but I wanted to be very intentional on being pro sex work. And so when I started it, I looked for sex workers, but primarily like people with lower followings. Sorry, Ember, I'm not trying to put you down there.
Are you negging me?
So yeah, I followed Ember, and then I don't know. I had some like random question that like another group. I was talking to a friend of mine that's ace, and they asked a question, and I didn't know the answer. It had something to do with sex work, and so I DM'd Ember, and that's kind of how our friendship started. Was just I s- I slid into Ember's DMs and asked about
Yeah, you
sex
did.
work.
And you
I
never
love that.
left.
Yep. We've been chatting ever since. So, and
Yes.
actually, Ember gave me the referral code to OnlyFans, so she's probably still making a little bit of money off me.
Every now and then.
Yeah,
Shoot, I need to
so,
start giving out referral codes
yeah,
apparently.
you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you get a quarter of OnlyFans cut when you do it. So,
And Loyal Fans has one that is supposed to work for fans as well as
mhm.
creators. So if you refer people who want to become your fan there, so I do like Loyal Fans as a platform.
Ooh, good to
So
know. Okay,
I haven't
that
gotten.
is you're
So
giving
I've
us a
got a referral link if you need it.
we
Yeah.
love that. You're actually giving us a really great segue into discussing your favorite platforms and where we can find you. So why don't we talk about that a little bit and then you can tell us kind of why you've chosen those platforms and how you established your business, your favorites, how you moved into it, I guess.
Okay, awesome. Well, I started out on OnlyFans, I think, because it's the most popular and well known. Um, but recently, I think the final straw for me with that platform was just the possibility that the owner had donated a lot to causes I wasn't a fan of.
Mhm.
So I finally just quit. It's still up there, but I upped my price to like $24.99 a month. If you really want it, you can have it. Um, but otherwise, I am over on Loyal Fans with much more of a female domination focus as well as financial domination. And I don't do as much nudity, although there is some, because that site also allows you to have a separate clip store and audio store that people don't automatically get access to, but you can have things for sale there. And I think they can find it, based on your profile. You can also live stream there and into like a public arena. Whereas OnlyFans, you have to already have them as a fan. On Loyal Fans, you can put it to public, you can put it to followers, people can follow for free, or fans and subscribers. And those people are actually paying you. So it's a little more complicated, but I like it. And I can also set up private video calls there and I can set whatever my rate is. I think currently it's $6.66.
Wow,
Perfect.
and moving into like a less like you said, OnlyFans was just kind of the popular one. Everyone knows the name. Moving into a less known, quote unquote, I guess, platform. Have you found like you've had the same kind of success that you've found fans that you better vibe with, or what's that like over there?
Well, I was always pretty darn lazy with my OnlyFans. I hate that I have to do all the marketing and drive traffic there. It's a lot. And nobody knows about that until they get into it. And then you realize, oh, this is just marketing and lighting.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of marketing and good lighting. So I do like Loyal Fans. I don't upload as much content, but I do try to keep clips in my store. And there are many more people who are into a lot of different fetishes, and you can use hashtags on your clip store as well as post public pictures on your page. So instead of for subscribers only, you could put something out to the public, a selfie, what have you, and you can use hashtags and people in theory can find you on like a for you page style thing.
So we're talking like kind of I guess what I'm hearing a little bit like having the free OnlyFans set up where like you can post pictures and then you can also charge, right? You can do free
Mhm.
content and paid content, but with the added benefit of people still have to pay to subscribe to you, but you can also set things to go out publicly to advertise for you. So you've got just lots of layers.
Exactly. It has
I love that.
layers.
I'm
It's
like
yeah.
selfishly, I'm just over here taking notes, y'all. Like,
Yeah, I like the platform, and I like that they only take that flat 20%, which, I mean, everybody does, and they do pretty good protections for things like chargebacks from what I understand.
that's great.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, like you said, joined OnlyFans because it is the most popular, and um, yeah, I've started on other places. I just haven't got the following. But I've also not put in the effort, which is probably a little bit more
That's
on
how it
me.
goes, yeah,
Yeah.
and so another one that I know that I got you on, but you haven't done anything yet, Sex Panther is, pretty
I have done
fun.
stuff on there.
Have you?
I
Okay,
haven't
okay.
advertised. I haven't advertised on it.
Okay.
Um, which I was thinking about that before we started recording. Is like I've been promoting my OnlyFans. Like people can actually message me on Sext Panther. Like,
Yes, and then it automatically charges per message,
mhm,
and you don't have to worry if you're giving away too much in your DMs on OnlyFans. Instead, it charges
yeah,
per message, whatever rate you wanna set on Sex Panther. Um, and so that platform is pretty cool. You could also use hashtags, and there's also a For You page, but you have to have a following to get on it, and so
yeah,
I don't recommend that a newbie try that platform. You have to have something established, like over 1,000 people on a sex work related Twitter or Instagram. Or I think I got in because I had over, I think, 6,000 followers at the time on Chatterbait. And so, being an adult platform, they approved me. If they deny your application to get into the platform, then it takes at least 6 months before you can reapply. So, that one is one you wait on
it's
until you're ready.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And
I
do you have
I
the same handle on all those ones too?
Um, I usually have either Ember Skies or Goddess Ember Skies on any platform
Awesome.
I'm on.
Okay. Well, and we'll put all the specifics in the show notes, but we got to be able to
Yes.
find you.
Yeah, that one is a self-contained platform. So I normally would not advertise it like on my Twitter because I'm going to rely on that platform to drive its own traffic.
Okay.
So the only one I really advertise is loyal fans just because if they wanna talk to me, I have my set rate. I have it there, they wanna call me, it's got my rate there, and, it's a pretty easy way for them to get to me, and I get the best cut of any clip sale site.
Love it.
think you sold me on loyal fans a little bit there.
It's
I know.
yeah,
Watch
like I
Say
all of
get
us
more,
switch
yeah.
over.
I mean, I get 80% for my clips there, whereas I'm also on a platform called ManyVids, MANY Vids, and that one is huge, and it's good for finding fetishes. Like, if you wanna know, "Hey, can I make money blowing out matches while men watch?" Probably. It's probably a fetish on ManyVids. So, you can get lots of
That's yeah.
ideas there. So, I like that one. It's useful, but I get less of a cut. I think I get something like 60%, maybe 70% of, like, the listed price on my clips.
And do you do sex
But
work full time?
It is the only job I have at the moment,
Okay.
besides being, you know, the following the highest calling as a stay-at-home wife and mother.
as you were taught, and
Because when you train up a child in the way they should go, when they are old, they will not depart from it. So
They
here
will
we are.
yeah,
become a sex
yeah.
worker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
clearly. Mhm.
So, how about you share a little bit of how you got into sex work? And I know you actually wrote an article for us, and once we have our articles collected, we're going to be posting them online for people. Um, but that's probably not going to happen for a little bit. So let's go ahead and you can just give the
Okay.
audiobook version of
Alright.
getting into it.
Okay. So, I deconstructed everything from, like, in 2020, 2021, in that time frame. Took a
Wait a
hard look at
minute. You went on lockdown and deconstructed your entire life?
Yes. While I was
What
Yeah,
locked
ticket?
same.
down, I was locked down in Italy, so it was the Italian version.
Oh, no.
Um,
I
oh,
didn't
yeah.
realize you were in Italy during that.
I lived next to a funeral home, and it took me a few
Oh my
months to
god.
figure out what all that smoke was
Oh,
from
no.
their chimneys as I sat on my front lawn playing Hotel California on the guitar.
Oh my.
Oh my gosh.
It was a time. They had trucks
That
driving
was a
down the
time.
street saying, "Stay inside," with, like, megaphones on top of the trucks, like, "Stay inside, quarantine, COVID-19," but it's all in Italian, and so it's just utterly surreal.
Oh my goodness.
So during
I
that
can't
This
even.
time,
is
I
Do the
sat
sirens
inside my
sound
house.
different?
Yes, they do.
I'm sorry, that is the most off topic. My ADHD brain just went, do the sirens
Mhm.
sound there like they do in the movies?
Yeah, so if you go and look on YouTube, like, Italian siren, you will find a good like, I know I have video of that truck somewhere on my Facebook, like, my personal one, and it'll pop up in my time hop. Like, "Remember when?"
remember when
Yeah.
that
There
time
was
you
a
were stuck
guy
inside.
Oh, yeah, there was a guy dressed in, like, a hazmat suit delivering my pizza. Um,
I
and they
don't
were
want this memory. How do
1
I
meter long
erase?
pizzas. And so the 1 meter fulfilled the 1 meter distance rule we needed. It was a weird
S-
time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
weird.
in that time, I took a hard look at religion and homeschooling and sexuality and monogamy and politics and parenting and carried it all out like somebody trying to take one trip with their groceries. Probably could have
Oof.
taken more trips, but
Probably. I
I
think that
figured
was a rather like big time
But
for a
once you
lot of us
pop,
because
once you pop,
once you pop,
you
once you
just
pop,
once you
can't
pop,
stop.
you just can't
yeah.
stop. Yes,
I'm
that's
gonna
it's so true.
I'm gonna start using that for deconstruction. Once you
Yes, but
pop.
be careful because that does lead into poppers, and that's a whole other topic for another community. But that's different.
We're gonna need to get somebody on this podcast to talk about poppers. Cause
Oh,
that
I
that it that is an episode, I'm sure.
mhm. I
I do
learned
not
about
have the
those.
experience.
I
I
learned about
can't.
those in a phone call with a client. He told me that he's from England and he likes to sit around with his mates or no buddies, his buddies. He called them his bait buddies because they just sat around and they masturbate together. They weren't gay. Like they just watch porn and do poppers and masturbate.
Oh my god.
Bait buddies.
That's sounds great
So
for
I've
business.
never
Yeah,
yeah, that
Healthy masculinity.
I
yeah.
like it.
So that's not one of my kinks. Like
It's not mine, but I'm
it's
not gonna knock it, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I guess everybody does have their own thing, and if a circle jerk is your thing, then like it's a literal one. Like normally you use that as a derogatory term, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that one's just
And maybe everybody was handling their own business, and that's how it's straight. I don't know.
I I don't know. It doesn't sound that straight to me, but I'm also like there's no shame in not being fully straight. But
That's okay.
yeah,
Well, it's straight as long as like it's kind of like the urinal stalls. Like you just have to make sure you keep enough space between you and you don't look, right?
Don't
Like
make eye contact. Just don't
yeah,
make eye contact. I mean,
I
I
think
don't know. I haven't been at urinals very often, so.
you're straight as long as you don't look it in the eye.
Mhm. Conceal, don't feel. I don't know why. That's just what's coming to Don't let it show. Um,
That's what it's like being a stay-at-home mom. That's perfect.
mhm. I've learned so
yeah.
much from my clients.
Honestly, I've learned a lot from your clients also. And it's not details. We're not just sharing details about our clients, but
And I
Ember will be
respect
like,
my clients,
yeah,
and I
you
usually
respect
will
clients, yeah.
I will usually not make fun of them unless they want me to.
But I know that one of your best selling videos is like your What is that called? The
My
the breathing.
CPAP mask.
Yes, that.
Yes. That damn thing has my
I,
best-selling clips.
I wish you could see my face right now. I need more information.
Okay. Alright, so if you
This
happen
is
to be
like a new
blessed.
level of cosplay that I've
Oh, yeah.
never.
Oh, yeah. If you happen to be blessed with sleep apnea and you're a sex worker, you're in luck. Because
Ooh.
there was a very small group of men that
Dedicated.
really dedicated, that really enjoy watching women put on CPAP masks and wear them, for a little bit. I usually wear them fully clothed, often in pajamas or something nightgown like, maybe just a big t-shirt, whatever. I put on my mask. One of my most enthusiastic fan who just paid me like $200 for about 40 minutes the other day so that he could watch me. Um, put on my CPAP mask, my night guard, um, earplugs, my bonnet that I wear to sleep in, just everything I do at nighttime, and then an eye mask to cover my eyes, and then just laid back and kind of reclined and let him enjoy that visual. And then he was like, "Do you have scrubs?" I'm like, "Yes, dear, I have scrubs." So then I changed. I was like, "Is it okay if I change in front of you?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, that's fine." And so just a quick change, nothing sexy, and put on a scrubs top and a pair of like leggings, kind of that look scrubs like, and then resumed. Put on all the same gear again, and he was very pleased. Very pleased.
I love that
Yeah.
there are so many
So
ways to engage with sexuality that I think a lot of us aren't thinking about, right? And so many
Yes.
different ways to connect that feel intimate to people outside of nudity or,
Yes.
mhm.
circle jerks. uh, it's
Yeah,
fascinating.
it really is, and he gave me some good ideas for content as well. He was like, because at one point somebody knocked on the bedroom door, and I'm like, "I'm busy, not right now," and so it was fine, but he was like, "Oh, no, I kinda like that. Can you, like, put all your stuff on and then, like, pretend somebody knocks and then have to, like, take it all off again?" I'm like, "Of course, sweetie." And so, like, I'm knocking on my, like, headboard and then like, "Oh, just a minute." And so that's gonna be a clip I need to do. Um, and then he also really likes his thing, he really likes the full face mask that goes over the nose and everything and the mouth. And he really likes the idea of the lines it leaves on the face.
Those are really
Um,
cute, honestly. I get it.
okay,
yeah,
okay,
that's
When
see,
you,
some
like, wake up in the
connection.
morning, and your person has all, like, the pillow lines in their face and stuff, and you
Mhm.
just wanna pinch their little cheeks. I love it.
Yeah, so like
well,
that. But he wants to look up close and see the steam in the mask
in
when
the
I'm
mask.
breathing. And I'm
Okay.
like, "Okay, I could do some close-ups and make some video clips." So,
Yeah.
I normally do clips from anywhere from, like, 2 to 5 minutes, and I charge, like, $25 a clip.
Rad.
Nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm super
I
fascinated
think
now. Oh, sorry, Alicia, go ahead. I'm full of questions.
I was I was just gonna say, like, there's definitely like the side of sex work of selling like very hypersexual type things, but there's also like that sometimes you can sell more of the intimacy type side of it. So like one thing that I've done a couple times is just like laid in bed and then recorded me talking about like just stuff that's going on in my
Hmm.
personal life. No details, obviously,
Yeah.
because but like even like I did one where I talked about, yeah, this week was really difficult. Like some anti-trans stuff had been passed.
Mm.
It was emotionally rough, and I shared that. And they're like, it doesn't have to necessarily be hypersexual because a lot of times what people are looking for is a very specific type of connection that is intimate. And it could be sexually intimate, but it's also can be a different, well, something that we don't generally see as intimate. Or
Mhm.
yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be genitals to be intimate. I think we have a pretty narrow view a lot of times of of sexuality and what that encompasses, and it can look like connection. It can look like so many things. It can look like a back rub. It can look, for so many people, there's so many different levels of intimacy and ways that we experience it. And when we're offering sex work, that's what we're offering is a connection. I think with being an individual sex worker and having our own platforms and driving our own businesses means that we get to really cater to specifically to those individual connections and hear from people directly. And I think that's really interesting. What are some of your other favorite or most interesting kind of kinks or interactions that you've had that you'd be comfortable sharing about?
Oh, sure, sure. I have so a lot of my personal favorites are religion related, and that's just a topic that's close to home. And so I know there's one of them that both of you guys are familiar with. You've encountered him. He has since like either deleted his Twitter or blocked me or something.
I think
Um,
he deleted because
Yeah,
same.
he disappeared.
he
Yeah.
disappeared. He did. He did.
He
You're
got
out there,
around.
sweetie. I
Yeah.
know you're out there. But he still comes back to see me now and then on Night Flirt. So I think he's limited himself, and that's another platform that's one of my favorites. NITE Flirt. Um, and that one's all about phone sex. So, I encountered him on there and he only wants to text. That is his jam. Over there, he pays 99 cents per text message and I get 60 something cents of that, which is fine. I just feel like he's being a little cheap over there, but whatever. It's okay. I'd rather him, pay me one lump sum and then I dedicate an hour and a half to him. But it's
Mhm.
okay. He is all about the transformation, the brainwashing, and the change of mind from being either a cis man to being a trans woman, or from being a cis straight woman to being a lesbian, or from being a conservative woman of one religion to a new religion and changing their politics as well. And he is just a fascinating person. And the amount of scenarios we've run through, I don't even know. My husband's told me I need to write them all down because, I mean, there's the lesbian vampires. There's the, um, yeah, the young Jewish woman in college who ends up having a far right pagan roommate. Um, it's weird and fascinating, and I'm like, "Sure, sweetie, of course we can incorporate that." Um,
Yes. Yes, let's spend most of this talking about me placing the wig, and it's
yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
and
Yeah,
like the
it was
you
transformation and me
can't forget
putting
the
makeup on.
details. Yes,
Yeah,
you
and
gotta
it's
have
not.
your
And again, like none of, at least in my interactions with this individual, none of them have ever come across as explicitly sexual. It's
yes.
always a scene that's about, you're surrounded by other women typically, and you're being like ushered into this new faith as a woman. And
Mhm,
so it's just it really is fascinating, and there's usually a lot of emphasis put on the outfit or the jewelry,
mhm,
or this is the exact wig and how I want it placed, and I want to spend some time
exactly.
on that. And so it's really specific things, again, that it's a different way of connecting, and it is
It is.
fascinating. Yeah,
Oh, it's fascinating, and
the
so we
stories
got
that
to
you get to come up with.
Oh, yeah. So specific. We'd be like specific cities, and I'm like, and then we're at the Abilene Christian University because you got a full ride and you're there for music, but all they really want you to do is be the worship leader and marry the pastor. Um, it's a
Yes.
whole it's a fascinating trip, and I have been talking to him for, I think, a year and a half now. And, like, on Night Flirt alone, I've made a couple $1,000 from him, and that's
Mhm.
at 60 cents a message. Like,
it's a
I'm a
yeah.
really good at texting, you know?
I like to think
Um,
I am too. Yeah, it is easier to get paid in one lump sum.
I prefer the
I
lump
will
sum.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's a really fun. I don't do as much sexting as I probably could. A lot of it has to do with just being able to carve out time. I'm a busy lady
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's not
that's
my only
the
job, you know. But
it's the
and
hardest thing
it
for
does
me
take
is the
time.
time. Yeah.
But I
Mhm.
enjoy the storyline part of sexting when you're really trying to clue in to what this person is looking
Yeah.
for, and then you're getting to set this whole scene. That's fascinating for me. I have a background in writing. I love it when it's something theological because it's like, oh, well, now I get
Oh,
to
yeah.
bring this in and
Oh,
combine these
yeah.
two parts of my life. Like it's a fascinating storytelling, honestly.
It is. Like, it's a fascinating thing, and I will say that I was probably a pretty sucky Christian, but I have led that man to Christ more times than I have ever led anybody else.
I never had a more effective
That's
altar
yeah.
call in all my years as
Yeah.
a youth pastor. Well, I never did an
I
altar call, but
I have brought her to Jesus with the ABCs of salvation, I don't know how many times, but
I think that's probably been the kink that I've been asked for the most is like an altar call type scenario. Like
Mm.
I don't think I would have thought that that was so popular. I mean, obviously I put like faith stuff, like religious stuff um
Mhm.
on everything that I do. So it makes sense that people would reach out to me for that. But I guess I didn't realize like how broad, like how many people are actually really into that. It was
Yeah.
just really surprising.
Yeah. It's it's fascinating, and, yeah, knowing more about him and his conservative background and all this, yeah, he's a fascinating one. Another one that I've had is a man who claims that he is an active Mormon, and, I have a partner who is an ex-Mormon, and so I am fairly well versed in my LDS, theology somewhat, and just have a pretty good working knowledge of that church. And so I have a client who likes to call over the phone, and, he's a is presented to me as a sweet young man, late 20s, and he has this desire to explore his sexuality, but also to be open about the fact that he's Mormon and that he wears the holy undergarments, the temple garments, and that he wants to role play having a woman tell him to wear nothing but his temple garments. And then, so for us, and I told my partner this at one point, and it got some fun reactions, but I tell the man to strip down to his garments, to get on his knees, to point to each one of the symbols that's on the garment, and to explain it to me. And after he's done explaining it, I kiss that spot. We never get very far. That's really the majority of what we do. He doesn't last terribly long when we do that. So, but he's a
okay.
sweet guy, and that's what he wants. That may be a little light spanking. So, it's, a lot of fun.
Oh my god,
That's
that's so fun. I listen, this isn't about me, but this conversation that we've been having just reminded me of some early interactions I had when I got back into sex work as Wild Violet, and I had this man who was a Jewish rabbi, and
Mm,
his whole fantasy was to have me convert him kind of, but essentially
mhm.
to pull him away from God by tempting him to worship me instead.
Oh,
Like
yes. Okay.
so I get to be like
yeah.
deified in this whole thing,
Yes.
and
Oh, yes.
it was fascinating.
Oh, I will say that brings to mind one other, that lovely man, older gentleman, and he had a voice like an old school radio host, or if you're familiar, Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove.
Yes.
Perfect. Yes.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. He was raised in the church, of course, and he really, really enjoyed taking it slow. He really enjoyed edging, and, CEI, if you are familiar with that acronym.
What if we're not?
No? Oh, dear. Okay. So CEI, lesson time, is come eating instructions.
Nice.
Mhm. That was his jam. Um, and so he wanted me to pray him to orgasm, which is a thing that I advertise on my night flirt that I can do. And so we did, and his
Which is
focus
talent.
was oh, yeah.
That's a talent. Like
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And so
I'm
nice and
sorry.
slow. Nice and slow, because he wanted to make it last, and he didn't want it to be shame-filled, which is interesting. Because I always ask, "Do you want this prayer to be like, I'm respectful and I'm asking God and thanking God for this erection?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, got this." Other people wanna be shamed for their desires. So, we did this for, like, an hour, and then he's like, "I need you to make me deny my faith before I can orgasm." Like, okay, deny God, and then you can come for me. And after I told a friend about this, they were like, "You gave him the Job. You gave him the Job's wife." And I'm like, "Yes, yes, I did."
That's
So yeah, give him
Oh
the old
my,
Job's wife. He
that
denied
is
God.
of course he did. I mean, obviously. Have you heard you?
Wouldn't you?
I
Um,
Oh my god.
do
Okay,
that all the time.
Alicia, for real. Well, yeah, every now and then I do thank him during sex though. Oh my god,
True.
fuck.
True,
Jesus
exactly.
Christ.
Whether he likes that or not, I don't
Yes.
know, but he should.
Every time I see titties, I suddenly believe in like creation theory. I go, Jesus
Mhm.
Christ. Oh, thank you.
Intelligent design, baby, right there. I'm a believer. Me and Ken Ham.
Oh my god, that's perfect. Alicia, have you had I know that you've had some fun interactions and I also know that you offer some things that are, somewhat sexual in nature but also very much a lot like theological, religious undertones. Do you want to tell people about that? I don't know if we talked about that.
we haven't talked about it yet, but yeah, I do strip theology Thursdays, which isn't every Thursday anymore, just because I don't have time. Life got really busy, but I do it about every other Thursday, and like it's it is fully stripping, but it's also like fully theology and fully um like it's educated stuff sometimes. Not always.
It
Sometimes I do
really
lighthearted.
is.
Yeah. Ember has listened to some of my talks. Just
Mhm. Learning about Moses and oh, yeah, all kinds of things.
And
yeah,
it's
like the last
topical each Thursday, right? So your
no,
fans will
yeah.
like request a topic and stuff. Yeah.
Or it's like something I saw on Twitter, or like sometimes I'll come across something because I actually study the Bible, which is weird. I know, but I yeah.
It's
But
okay. It's
I
okay.
mean, that's how I've discovered that Paul was most likely a sex worker. Like,
Listen,
You're
since we
doing the
started
real Lord's
talking,
work.
amen. Since we, started talking about doing this podcast, I've like dusted off my Bible with my old last name on it for the first time in ages. And suddenly I want to read it because I'm like, ooh, let's pick this apart. This is gonna be fun. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I
it,
grabbed a Catholic Bible, and I have enjoyed reading, like, the books of the Apocrypha,
mhm,
yes.
because those are a wild ride.
those
Amen.
are, and yeah, there's gonna be more of that probably in my future. Um, but yeah, like I've actually did a devotional on sex workers that was put out on our Bible app, where I think I did 6 days talking about different sex workers in the Bible and what that can teach you about sexuality. Like there's interesting stuff that it's not all it's a lot terrible, but not everything is absolutely terrible.
Yeah. I have a Twitter mutual who I think a lot of you probably also are as well, but, very nice guy, and he's on Loyal Fan, so he came and he said hello, and we've talked about things while I'm live streaming there, and he'll tip very nicely. And then I had sent out a DM because I can send them out to all my followers, so they may not even be paying me. But I did a little clip of myself reading a passage in Song of Solomon, and I sent that out. And it's not everybody's thing, but it is his thing. And he was like, "Oh, maybe you could read my favorite passage." And it was a different verse in Song of Songs. And then he was saying how he loves that the book was actually written as a sex manual for young Jewish men to learn how to better satisfy their lovers. And so it was a fun back and forth. And I sent him just a little 20-second clip, and he was like, "Okay, thank you." And then he sent like $25 as a thanks. So
Did you
yeah.
get to I will climb her tree and grab hold of her fruit?
I did not even get to there.
Man,
There's
I
some
that's
think
my
good
favorite
stuff
part.
though.
I
I
think
love
a lot
grabbing
of
hold of
people
fruit.
don't actually know that Song of Songs is like, yeah, that's what it was meant to be. It's
Mhm.
the Jewish version
No,
of the
it's
Karma
Christ in
Sutra.
the church, Alicia. It's Christ in the church.
Yeah,
You
I don't
know,
necessarily.
Creepy.
I really don't necessarily need Jesus tasting the wine of the goblet of
But the twin fawns of the
yeah,
gazelle.
the
Jesus
twin.
needs those twin fawns.
during my time as a youth pastor, we did this thing called Tough Questions, where people would write down a question, and then we would do like a whole talk around it. And when I like flipped through them, there was one that said, why doesn't the Bible ever talk about sex except to say that it's bad? And I thought to myself, oh, that's my question. I'm doing that one. And so we opened up the conversation. We really broke the ice by doing just a small, goofy, interpretive reading from Song of Songs, and it really set the stage for the conversation. I got to tell you, I was like, listen, sex is all up in the Bible.
Kind of
And the way
is, yeah.
people look at you when you say that, like they haven't read it.
Yeah, they
I
haven't read it.
They haven't.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And most people think that Song of Song is between married people. Granted, part of that is because of the added. They actually translate it bride and groom, which is not the Hebrew in there. It's
Hmm.
yeah, it just says that they are not married.
What is the
um,
Hebrew?
it's just beloved and the person who does the beloving.
I am my
um,
beloved's, and my beloved is mine. Got it.
yeah, his banner over me is love is actually about sex. So if you grew up singing
Yes.
that song in children's
Whoa.
church,
So his banner over me is sex?
His banner
his banner,
is, yeah,
yeah, it's
some
sex.
like a flagpole kind of yeah.
Wait. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Anytime there's
Yeah.
like a
Mhm.
Can
pole
we
or
do like an episode about stuff like that we didn't know was about sex?
oh, well, I had a foot fetish pastor the other day, and yeah, I'm that was fun. That was fun. But yeah, bringing up all those, feet are a euphemism for
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for the genital.
Feet in the
Mhm.
Bible is always genitals. So I'm
Mhm.
sorry. The Book of Ruth gives Boaz.
Sloppy toppy. Like,
Whoa,
Yeah.
she was the
whoa.
Nancy Reagan of her time. That's what.
Oh my god.
So wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. So upper room. Jesus washes all the disciples' feet.
Maybe.
So okay. Not so much because feet washing was an actual thing that servants did because people wore sandals and their feet would get super gross and dirty.
Okay, I'm sorry.
However, flip to we talked about this in Go Home Bible in Luke. Whenever the woman that's a sinner, which we talked about, she was a prostitute. Um, her act of like anointing Jesus is actually the preparation ritual for sex work. So she actually uses like preparation
Okay.
for intimacy on Jesus to anoint him as the Messiah, which is, to me, like, Luke is a very interesting book because of that. Also, there is an argument to be made that Luke isn't the one that wrote Luke and Acts; that it's actually a woman who wrote it.
Hmm.
And it actually makes a whole lot more sense because the only time that Paul speaks and teaches women is in we passages. So the passages where the author says we instead of Paul, in the third person it starts using a first person
Hmm.
plural. Those are the only times in which women are taught specifically, which culturally speaking would mean that there needed to be a woman like along with them, because otherwise it'd
Mm.
be inappropriate. So looking at Luke and Acts as a female perspective actually changes quite a bit of some of the things that happen in the story. But yeah,
Hmm.
um, Jesus' anointing in Luke is very much a sex worker doing the ritualistic preparation for sex work.
Yeah, if you listen to that episode of Go Home Bible back, it's clear that I was not fully grasping this concept, and now my brain is like, "Pff." So
Oh, yeah.
the beginning of Jesus' ministry, the anointing for his ministry was the preparation for intimacy.
Well,
That's really
it's at the end.
interesting.
It's at the end of Luke. It's like right before the Last Supper time frame.
Oh, okay, so
It's later on in Luke, yeah,
the
for his
anointing
death,
for
kind
his
of, yeah,
death, right? For the
yeah.
thing that
Mhm.
tore the curtain into was the preparation for intimacy. That's something else.
I
Yeah,
mean, we call it the little death in French, so
It's true. Le
yeah.
petit more? I don't know how to say it.
yeah, my French sucks, but I know that's what it means. So, but yeah, that foot washing story goes over real well if you just happen to have a foot fetish pastor.
Mhm.
So, mhm, had to incorporate that.
Yeah.
Sweet guy. Yeah.
There's other places in the Bible where feet are definitely they're not feet. They're genitals.
She wasn't laying down by his toes, just
She didn't
the one
No.
uncover
big
just his
toe.
toes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and laid down by them.
Which is slightly problematic because it's still technically not consent.
Mhm.
Um,
Ooh, yeah, him was
but then again, there's like no consent in the Bible, anyways.
no, there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff happening to people while they're asleep and just other we don't love that.
It's bad.
Mm,
It's bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's not good. So anyway, moving on from that, Ember. I'm really curious, being someone who like has a full-time job and is just kind of like trying to, squeeze a lot of this in. What is it like doing this from home, being able to do it, kind of full time? What's the weirdest part of the experience? The best part?
So I do things. I'm bad about setting schedules. In theory, I like to work around, say, 9 to 3, Monday through Friday during the school year. That's the ideal. And in that time, it depends on if I need to get stuff done in one particular room of the house or if I need to do things on both floors of the house and move around more. If I need to move around more, I will turn on my phone calls. So I'm on Night Flirt, Talk to Me. I Want Phone, which is one that's a little more obscure, but I have gotten some good people on there. And Sex Panther, I think, is the other. And so I will turn on my calls and I will be available and do whatever it takes. Some platforms let you bid to promote yourself, others you post a picture to the main feed, all of that. So I'll do that and I will go and I will, clean upstairs, put away laundry, all of those things. Otherwise, if I can isolate myself in my kitchen and I need to clean my kitchen, clean out the fridge, do the dishes, I set up my live stream. Um, And so I've done it in different ways. I've gone from being much more explicit to mostly keeping my clothes on and kind of finding my balance in that. But I will put on a few different platforms, usually Chatterbait, because that has a constant flow of people and I use them to amuse myself. And then Streamate has the people that are willing to pay because they don't get to see much of anything unless they do. So I keep that running. And those are usually the two main ones. I'll put them on and I will clean. And either I can take private and one-on-one shows and stop what I'm doing and I'll come and, have a conversation. The most fun conversation I think I've had on Streamate specifically was a guy who wanted to talk about Evanescence. And so
That is.
Like
I feel
Evanescence
like that's.
or Amy specifically? Like, what are we talking?
So I play music. Sometimes I'll do specific music to lure in dads, the dad rock of our era, because the fact that I put on Stacy's Mom, and then I will tell them, oh yeah, Blink 182's on, whatever, because it'll make a station on my Alexa. I'm like, oh yeah, because it's dad rock, and that makes them sad because that's not old music. I'm like, it's okay, sweetie. I'm going to be 40. And then we'll have a conversation. And so this guy, Evanescence, happened to be playing. And he started, he was like, oh, yeah, did you know the lead singer from POD did the rapping part in Bring Me to Life? I'm like, really? I don't remember who it was, but I'm really sure it wasn't that guy. And he's like,
Yeah,
no,
it
it
wasn't.
was. He's like,
He
no,
was the
it
lead
was.
singer of 12 Stones. And I hate that I know this.
I know. However, he starts paying $10.99 a minute, and I'm like, that's really cool that was the guy from POD. That's awesome, man. And so then we have this whole conversation, and he's paying me $10.99 a minute, and I think he pre-played for like a block of like half an hour or something, and we just sat and talked about music. This cover that Amy Lee did of a Led Zeppelin song, which he had me listen to after we got off, and it was a great song. But yeah, that
Listen,
was
if you want to pay me to mansplain stuff you're wrong about, fine. That's
yes,
I'm in.
If you
absolutely.
wanna, yeah.
Wow, that
You
was
know how much of
fascinating,
that
sir.
shit I've done for free?
Tell me more. Wow, I had no idea POD did that. That's really cool.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you got his money.
He was a
And
sweet guy.
I'm sure.
You know what? I'm
I
sure
really hope he
was
looked
too.
up on Wikipedia afterwards. Like,
or he didn't. And he gets to go on and he paid that money in order to have the feeling that he explained something to a pretty woman and she thought he knew stuff. And he gets to take that feeling with him. And that's what he paid for. Because I wasn't naked. I was wearing like this, sitting in my kitchen.
And when you say like this, you're like just wearing
a t-shirt, just hanging out. Yeah, t-shirt and leggings. That's pretty much all I wear. And I dance around my kitchen, washing dishes, singing Stacy's Mom, and see who it lures in.
That's perfect. But so this is something connected to it that you've talked about, which is specifically for like neurospicy people, the whole idea of body doubling, which does come into play in especially cam work. So can you talk about that just a little bit?
Tell us more about what that means first, Alicia, for people who might not know.
I'll let Ember do it.
Right,
Ember
Alicia. What am I like?
Okay. Okay, so I've heard body doubling and I've heard parallel play. The idea that if you are perhaps a neurodivergent person with ADHD, autism, anything like that, that it might help you to be more focused in your job. Say you're working from home. If somebody else is hanging out with you and they're also working on their project, you may not be interacting a whole lot, but you see them there doing their thing, you're there doing yours, and you might be more likely to get your work done and focus because you have that kind of company. So that's a thing that I'll talk about occasionally on Chatterbait and talk about how there are people on TikTok that do that. They'll do a TikTok live. I've come across Twitter spaces that do the same thing, body doubling. I folded my laundry while chatting with some other financial dominatrix ladies yesterday because it helped me focus. But I will do that, and I tell them that the telework and jerk crowd is my people. They are the stay-at-home guys who are procrastinating, and
I've
it's not
not heard
my
that
fault.
term.
Oh, yeah,
That's a
it's
new
not.
term for me.
I love that one. I got it in a book somewhere, and I love it. So, yeah, the procrastinators, the telework and jerk boys that are home always seem to be in IT, seem to like Marvel, Star Wars, maybe Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm like, yeah, I know you. I know you. And so it's fine. And I tell them that, like, I'm here, I'm cleaning my kitchen, I'm folding laundry. And if you happen to have your dick in your hand while I'm fully dressed folding laundry, there's a tax for that. So go ahead and tip. That's fine that you find it strangely arousing to watch me fold clothes. That's okay, but it's polite to tip.
It's always polite to tip.
If you're
It really is.
always tip if you're stroking the tip.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm so behind. I'm learning new phrases left and right here. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've tried to get into cam work, and with my current schedule, it's just not necessarily working. It didn't really work out for me. Um, but I also tried to do it like tried to rebrand myself and not connect it with transvangelical, so just use Alicia, and
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah, erasing your platform to try to do something new probably isn't the best plan to get things going.
Yeah. With that, you could say you start on a platform that actually pushes traffic to you. You don't necessarily have to connect it. You can just be like,
Yeah.
hey, this is me and I'm new. And anytime you get on a new platform, you usually have a new status. Check each platform for what that means, but don't waste it. So if you think you're going to get on some new platform, they will give you a week up to a month on some that they push more traffic to you to encourage you to use it. And so you milk the heck out of that and get a fan base.
That makes a lot of sense. I missed that window, so I think I will try to do it again. And there's one where like it messed up whenever I signed up, and sa- like I reached out to tech support and they kind of helped me, but they put me down under mail, which is not
Oh,
what works for me. But
yeah.
it put me down
Wrong.
as male with interest in like or for men looking for men, and I'm like, no, this is wrong. I very much know I didn't sign up for that. So I goes to that platform.
Fair.
Yeah, that might have been Night Flirt. They have a weird setup. You have to be careful when you get on that one. Make sure you follow each little step. It can be fixed, but it's a process.
I don't
Yikes.
think it was Night Flirt because I've used Night Flirt and it's worked out.
Hmm. Oh, okay, good.
But then I got on Sex Panther like right after that, and I much prefer Sex Panther.
I like that Sex Panther has an app, and
Yeah.
for me, that makes it better. But I get more calls on Night Flirt, so I
Okay.
get more texting on Sex Panther, and I get more calls on Night Flirt.
So you are full of fascinating information and advice. You also are in so many places. We'll make sure to link all of that in the show notes for anyone who wants to find you. I'm really curious because you mentioned like that new status period when they're pushing your content, taking advantage of that. Sounds like you've got really some knowledge of how to do this thing. So can you give maybe some tips for other new beginners or people with limited time or people staying at home, or just can you share a little bit with us about maybe how to be successful, what you've learned?
Yeah. So I will say if you are not sure and you're thinking about doing online sex work, that's something you do have to be pretty certain about simply because the internet is forever. Always pick a pen name, a pseudonym, get an email address with that. Use that email address to sign up for anything you're going to do. Um, do not connect it to any social media. Like, be mindful. Your social media, sometimes you create a new account, it'll try to sync it with your contacts. And if you don't want your mom and your grandma having your work Instagram suggested to them, you need to make sure you don't have that on there. And for me, for safety's sake, I have a picture of like my legs in fishnets as my profile picture. So even if I am suggested to my mother, it's going to be as a picture of legs, and I'm not sure why anybody would click on that because unless they want to look at somebody's legs. So hopefully that cuts down on that problem.
Something that I've done also is I've blocked myself. So it,
Mm-hmm.
whenever it starts looking for connections of connections, it at least cuts
Mm-hmm.
out that one.
That
Um,
helps.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's something to be aware of. Then, if it could impact a future career or custody agreements, anything like that, that you are aware of that and you have to kind of weigh the risks and know that at any point in time, it all could be made public. And so, what the ramifications of that would be in your life. Um, but then from there, exploring different platforms and what you are looking for. OnlyFans, I've heard it said that if you don't have fans, why are you on OnlyFans? If you
There's
are
no
an
discoverability on
there's none.
OnlyFans.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. If you are a musician or a politician or somebody with a platform and you already have people who are interested in you, say a Twitch streamer, whatever, of course, go make yourself a fan page, and fans that you already have will want to go check it out. If you don't, you're going to be marketing yourself on platforms like Reddit and Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and it's a constant process of sales funnels. So understanding that, and if you don't get clicks, it's not because you're not hot or it's not because you're not what people want to look at. That's a lie. Men want to look at the oddest variety of things. Like women in CPAP masks or
Mhm.
sneezing. And if you don't believe me on the sneezing, go look up how to make yourself sneeze on YouTube and read the comments. They're there. They're
Forgot you
watching.
told me that you made. Sne- oh yeah, you got sick and you made videos of like sneezing and
Mm-hmm.
coughing. I remember you telling me
Yep.
that.
Oh, yeah. I should make some with this mic out. Actually, when I'm done, I'm going to get my sneezing powder, use my pretty backdrop. Oh, I'll be a podcaster that can't stop sneezing. That'll be my little hook there. Because I try to make it like a thing,
That's yeah, yeah.
not just look at me sneeze, but I'm getting ready to go to the Barbie movie and this is my cute outfit. Get ready with me. But I want to, clear my sinuses so I don't have allergy problems when I'm at the movies. So let me take a pinch of my sneezing powder. Yeah, that was a bestseller.
That's awesome. So you said something that I wanted to pick up on just to yeah, whatever. Um there's actually been studies that because the overproduced content exists in so many places, it's actually the underproduced that is getting like the most attention when
Mm,
it comes to sex work. So like obviously like put in effort to make things look good because that's part of it. But a lot of times people aren't necessarily looking for the hyper professional, hyper edited type images or whatever. They're looking for something that might have been sent to them through a text or something. Like uh it's just a really weird dynamic that there's actually an oversaturation of perfect like professional is not the right word because all three of us are professionals, but we don't have like a company that we work for. So
mhm,
um
Yes. I think that really is kind of the big difference in our line of work. We're not filming in a studio and then having that consumed in mass. We are connecting to individual people who, if they are seeking out a specific sex worker that they can interact with in that way, it can be more unique. It can be more niche. And they may be those people who are looking to have those needs met. There's a lot more that can be done there. So if you're in this type of sex work, especially, I think there's a huge market for really individual, really niche content.
Yeah, I agree. So yes, do your best to have a neat background, and some decent lighting, but overall, a lot of people are not necessarily looking for the most professional and polished, especially when it's unusual stuff. It can be
They're looking
harder to
for
find.
a real person that they can chat with and feel like they know a little bit.
And some just wanna have that conversation. Um, like, you just never know what somebody wants to sit and discuss. Um,
A lot of
yeah,
it is, I think, the relatability and just the intimacy of a conversation with someone who who just feels like a really real person instead of a character on a screen. So I think that's
yes.
kind of a really cool part of what we do, especially when it comes to removing the shame. I have people sometimes subscribe and say, I grew up in the church. I've never subscribed before. I've always been really nervous about porn. I don't know. Can I ask this question? And those are always really, really neat interactions, at least in my mind. I've had someone who over time has been converting or deconverting in my
Mm,
messages and sending me messages about their latest church visit and how they're just not ready to give it up yet, and how now they're kind of
hmm,
finally done. And it's been a really cool experience to have real interactions with real people. And I think the hyper professional stuff just doesn't feel as relatable sometimes because
Yeah.
it doesn't look like the world that most of us live in. So
yeah,
No,
yeah, I
there's
remember. Sorry, go ahead.
no. Go ahead, Ember.
Oh, brought to mind a call I had from a man who had an accent, so feeling like English wasn't necessarily his first language, but that he came from a very conservative religion, and he wanted to talk about how could he have a conversation with his wife to tell her that he wanted to be more romantic with her, and he had no idea how to do that, and I it was a little bit of a heartbreaking conversation, but, um, I asked him, "Have you procreated with this person?" And they're like, "Oh, yes," and, 4 times, and I'm like, "Okay, sir," and he's like, "But we do that, at night in the dark, and so it's not scary," and I was like, "Okay, so then at night in the dark, you're going to ask her, 'Would it be okay if I held your hand?' And you can say no if you want to." And telling her that is really important, and we just had this conversation for like 30 minutes at $2.99 a minute about how he could be a better husband.
mhm. I've actually had people ask me. I had someone come into my DMs that had a fiance that is bisexual, and they had never had an experience with a woman. And this man was like,
Mm,
I'm really concerned about this, and I told her she can have this experience because I'm worried that she'll always regret not having it, and blah blah blah. Just some questions. I guess I shouldn't go like too far into detail, but there was a lot of like, how do I love her well,
mm,
and tell her that this is okay. And I got to have the experience of kind of going, well, she knows. And being bi is no different from your straight experience, in that you know uh, n- you have plenty of potential other partners out there too, and you're
mhm,
making a choice every day to be with this person. And it doesn't erase like her attraction to other people to choose to be in a relationship with you. just like she would be totally valid if she chose a relationship with a woman, and and that's okay. She knows that the door is open for that now. Let her tell you what she wants. Like, you don't have to push her through it, you know. And we
Mhm.
just got to have some really cool conversations, and I've had a few of those where I've been so grateful for the glimpses of humanity that happen, the connection that happens outside of just like the showing my tits on the internet.
Mhm.
So it's really special.
I think that there's a lot about just once you start getting outside of like the hyper conservative, especially hyper Christian in our culture, like belief that relationships are these easy things. You just follow the rules and put the puzzle pieces in place so then everything works out perfect. Once you start to move away from that, you realize that we were never actually prepped to live in the real world. And
Mhm.
a lot of times having places that like whenever somebody slides into a sex worker's DMs, if they're doing it properly, whatever, it is a more safe space on the count that I mean I mean they're paying, but like how do I say this? It's like giving having that connection where like it's not going to be shared to somebody in your life, right? That it's going to remain secret or whatever. It allows people to open up and actually express some of the things that they haven't been able to express before because
Mhm.
life like people don't actually fit into the little cookie cutter shapes of life. And I like
Mhm.
for me part of kind of one of the coolest things I've been able to do is like because of my platform, I have had people that were trans subscribe to my stuff, and then like because because it took a long time. I was not confident whenever I started doing sex work about my body. And actually Ember and I have talked about it quite a bit whenever I first started. Like um I started by only doing, waist up, and then I slowly started to introduce more, and then I'd be like, "Hey, I just posted my first, bottom photo." Like, um, because for me, I was super nervous, but because I was able to work through that kind of in a public way on this, not public, it's behind a paywall, but um, like that story is actually there on my on my timeline, and people
Mhm.
have followed me, and because of that have gotten the confidence to accept that they're trans and start to transition, and it's not just been one
I
person.
love that so much. Oh, this job, that's so cool. This job, it's been like therapy for me too, right? The reclaiming of my body. And then I
Mhm.
think we're also a little bit like sex therapists for the people that we interact with. And I'm not saying that I'm endorsed in any way. This is all opinion, but it feels like you said, like there's a level of trust there where we're what happens on Sex Panther stays on Sex Panther, and that you have a level of respect. And I'm sure that there are sex workers in the world who don't do it that way, but I think vetting them and connecting, there are there are just there are so many opportunities out there. I think one of the big things that I'm going to take away from this is there are as many um types of desires as there are people in the world. Um, and I hear there's a place for everyone, I think, in this world. I've heard people say before, well, no one would want to see me naked, or no one would want to see me do this or that. And I always just look at those people and I shake my head and I just say, no, I guarantee you that there's a group of people that there is literally
Oh,
no
definitely.
such thing
Yeah.
as someone who is unattractive. Not objectively,
Mhm.
there's a group of people who want to see whatever you have, and there might be a group of people who want to watch you sneeze. Like, they're
Yeah,
and
there are.
Yeah, and so there's just there are so many options too for how to do the work and how to put yourself out there and how to interact with people. You can set your own boundaries. You can do the kind of content that you enjoy doing. Um, just how cool, and you can really tailor it to the types to the niche that you want to interact with. And of course, mine has looked like talking about deconversion and purity culture and a lot of these things. And I haven't focused a ton on my OnlyFans on those things, but more and more I'm starting to connect those two pieces of my life. And I think everyone is seeing that whole evolution. I was on Twitter before I was a sex worker, as I was figuring out that I was queer and was I going to get a divorce. And then I became, started doing the sex work thing and couldn't look at all the things I deconverted from for a really, really long time. And now I'm starting to put them together in this way. And how cool to be able to share our stories like that. There's someone out there who wants to hear yours.
Absolutely.
Well, Ember, thank you so much for joining. We went a little bit longer than we normally do, but it was awesome. It was awesome having you on. And
Yes, thank
yeah,
you.
you've been our first guest on our podcast. So
It's an honor.
yeah.
It's been
So
wonderful chatting with you. We will make sure that we link all of the places where you want to be found in the show notes when we put this out. Everybody definitely go find Ember. I know you want to listen to that voice some more. Uh,
absolutely. Go pay Ember to read some of your favorite Bible verses, because
Give me your favorite scripture.
or she can pray you to orgasm.
That
or
too.
that's yeah.
That's
It's a
fantastic. That's
gift.
going to stick with me forever. That really is a gift.
Thank you everyone for tuning in to this week's episode. And yeah, that's all we got. So bye.
Have a good
Bye.
one.